So we got a little bit of a break in between rainstorms. I wanted to do a review on this ground blind that I just picked up not too long ago. So this is the Hawk down and out panel blind. And so up here at our deer camp, we got a lot of areas that during the rifle season, we hunt pretty regularly out of ground blinds during the rifle season, because a lot of portions of the property are in some bottomland, some hemlock bottomland. And so what happens is, once you get elevated in those hemlocks, you're very limited on your visibility, because once you get up off the ground about 6 or 8 feet, your field of view is basically reduced down to 25, 30 yards in some areas, just because of all the once you get up in the air, just because of all the limbs from the hemlocks, it really reduces your visibility. And which it's fine during the bow season, hunting out of stands in those areas out of the bow season, because obviously your range is much more limited. But during the rifle season, you want to take advantage of that, of the weapon that you're using. So having that ability to stay down on the ground and kind of increase your range is very beneficial. So we've been using the hub style pop-up blinds for a number of years, but the problem with them is they just don't last. They're super lightweight and they're easy to set up, and they're very portable, but the longevity isn't there on them. And where we are up here in central New York, it's pretty common that we get those late October, early November, early snowfalls. And when that snow does come, it's usually those early season snows are usually real wet and a real heavy snowfall, and so they just wreak havoc on those pop-up blinds. So we typically have each year we typically have six ground blinds set up, in different areas of the property, and it's pretty much a guarantee that every year at least one, if not two, are going to wind up getting destroyed. And so you got to kind of look at them almost as if they're disposable, or at least that's how we have been looking at them, is they're basically disposable blinds. You can find them pretty cheap, especially late in the season, like wintertime and that, Walmart and stuff. They're usually on clearance, and they're not super expensive. But so I was looking for a ground blind that was going to be, more durable and last a lot longer. So I started looking at the hard structured blinds, the molded and the fiberglass ground blinds, like the redneck blinds and that sort of those types of blinds, as kind of those permanent box blinds. And a friend of mine has a camp not far from me, and I've hunted over there, and he's got a couple of the redneck blinds, and those things are great to hunt out of. But they certainly have their drawbacks. They're pretty pricey. They're pretty pricey, and then just the weight of them. In order to get one of those out into the woods, essentially you got to use some type of equipment to get it out there. It's not something that you can just carry out there. So you got to use either have it on a trailer and pull it with an ATV, or have a tractor with with a tractor with a front loader on it with forks to drive it out there. And so because of that, you're kind of limited as to where you can set those types of blinds up. You obviously have to be able to drive a four-wheeler or drive a tractor to that area. So, unless you have, a woods road nearby, or if you're setting it up in a field or something along those lines, you're really kind of limited as to where you can put those blinds. And then the other thing with the other downside to those types of blinds is, it's not something that you can move very easily, you know, especially like in season. You know, so if you have, your blind set up or whatnot, and, you know, you whatever patterns change or what have you, and, you know, you need to move that blind, you know, 200 yards to the other side of the ridge, because that's where, you know, that's where the oak trees are dropping acorns or something along those lines, you know. It's a pretty, you know, it's a pretty large undertaking to move one of those blinds. So, you know, so those are kind of the downsides that I saw with them. And then I came across these blinds here, the hawk blinds, so basically they're, I guess you would call them a semi-permanent blind, if you will. You know, they're made, they're a much heavier duty construction. You know, it's an all aluminum frame. I think it's a 1-inch square aluminum tubing. So it's really robust. And then the material, the outer material it's real thick and real heavy duty. So like I say, it's just a more robust blind that should last a little bit longer than the hub style blinds, but then you still have that, you know, you still kind of have that portability with it as well. You know, it's not super heavy. It's not a super heavy blind that one person can't just, you know, you can just carry it into a spot, set it up. You know, obviously it's not a blind like a hub style blind is designed for, like running and gunning, you know, going in, setting it up, hunting out of it that day or whatnot. You know, it's a little more, you know, it's a little more cumbersome to carry through the woods, but it's something that you can move in, you know, get into hard to reach places, set up, and know that it's going to last, you know, the entire season. I think the snow load, the roof is weighted for, I think, 200-pound capacity. So, you know, when you get those snows in the early season, it should, you know, you shouldn't have any issues with that as far as collapsing them and that. So, but yeah, I mean, so I ended up buying. I, you know, came across these, and there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of reviews on them, so I figured I'd do one. But anyways, after watching some of that stuff, it seemed like it was probably a pretty decent design. So I ordered, I ordered 2 of them, got them. And, you know, after messing around with them a little bit, setting them up and that, and checking them out, I was like, man, these things are great. So I ended up ordering 2 more. But yeah, so like I say, just, you know, certainly a lot more robust than those hub style blinds, and should last a heck of a lot longer. But then on the same token, not something that's, you know, going to be difficult to move, you know. So like I say, if you're not on the X and you need to move a couple 100 yards, it's no big deal to take this thing down and carry it over there and set it up again. So, but yeah, but some of the stuff, some of the specs. Okay, so again, this is the Hawk Down and Out. So in this blind series, the Down and Out blind series, they have 2 models. They have this model, which is the Scout, and then they have a little larger version, which is the Warrior. Warrior is a bigger footprint, obviously a little bit more weight. You know, construction is basically the same. It's just that the overall blind itself is a little larger. And then in addition to that, the panels are larger on the Warrior, and so they have an extra window. So each panel on the Warrior blind has 2 windows. One that is a vertical window, which is kind of is more so designed for use archery equipment. And then you have the same size window as this one next to it. But again, I'm primarily using this for rifle hunting. So I didn't really see the need to get the larger blind. So that's why I went with this with the Scout version. But again, it's a panel blind, and so it's kind of like when you take it apart, or when you go to set it up, you'll see it's kind of like an accordion, and so all the panels are connected to one another, and then it just kind of unfolds into position. And then you know, for whatever reason, the box here has this slide bolt door latch, but they must have changed. They obviously changed their design slightly, as there's no actual latching mechanism on the door. It's actually just a magnet. And so again, the peak height at the center at its highest point is 74 inches. Each panel is 27.5 inches wide by 61 inches tall, and then again the weight is about 49 pounds. So again, like I say, that the blind material, it's kind of like a real thick canvas type material. It's 600D poly Oxford material, and then the frame itself is aluminum frame that's powder coated black. The windows are really neat on this blind. They're basically a silent window. So basically you have two layers. So you have a screen mesh layer and then a blackout panel behind that. And that blackout panel is just held in place with bungee cords on some hooks, so totally silent to fold those down. And then the mesh windows are magnetic, and so you can adjust those however you need fit. If you want them, all the way open or closed or whatnot. And then and like I say, they're just totally silent, so it's really neat. And then also you've got with that 1-inch frame, the way the frame is designed, you have basically a shelf underneath each window that's 1 inch wide, so that you can use that to prop your rifle on and basically use that as a gun rest. And then again, the roof, snow load on the roof capacity is 200 pounds. So again, should be super durable. So again, like I say, each panel is 27.5 inches wide by 61 inches tall. The blind in its entirety, the footprint is 59 inches wide by 74 inches tall. And then of course, again, your peak height is 74 inches. Your door dimension is 24 inches wide by 57.5 inches tall. And it's real nice the way the door opens up. Makes it very easy to get in and out of this blind, especially if you have like a backpack on and either a bow or a crossbow or a rifle in your hand. It's not like those hub style blinds with the zipper that hardly opens, and they can be a bit of a pain in the neck to get in and out of. This blind here, that door is real wide open, so really easy to get in and out. And then each window 15 inches wide by 14 inches tall. And like I say, that the other version or the other model in this series, the Warrior blind, again, that has an additional window in each panel that's set up vertically. So that obviously would be a little better setup if you were looking for a blind to primarily bow hunt out of. But and then the camouflage pattern, they call it their Chaos Black. Yeah, and so set up on these blinds, really pretty simple and straightforward. This is only the second time that I've set this blind up. And even the first time that I did it, it was a pretty simple process. Some of the reviews that I saw, I guess when they sold these blinds a couple years ago, they came in a big bag, like a carry bag. I guess they must have changed whatever, and so now instead of a bag, you just basically have these straps that go around either end of the blind, and then with a shoulder strap, and then your roof and your roof supports and your stakes and everything are in this piece here, and which is it just attaches on. But again, just like I say, it was 49 pounds, so not like I say, not something that you're gonna carry 2 miles out into the woods, but definitely something that's very portable, and like I say, you can get to some of those areas that you're not going to be able to get one of those larger blinds set up into. But again, set up pretty simple. So you're just going to disconnect your roof and your roof supports, and then The carrying harness comes undone. And then literally all you're gonna do, so like I say, each section is essentially kind of like an accordion. You know, each section is attached with like a hinge, and so literally you're just putting each section like that. And then you're going to grab your roof brackets. This is your roof. So these are your roof supports. And again, these are, so basically you have a male end and a female end, and they're just going to slide into one another like that. So there's just two holes on the top of each. So then once you have your roof supports on, then you're just going to toss the your roof cover on, and then on the roof cover there is one of the sections here has a label on it right here. It says Hawk on it, and so that's the section that's going to go over top of your door panel. Then you're just gonna, so again, like I say, I unhook these from the actual blind themselves and just leave them snapped, and then just buckle them in place, because so these snaps can be a little challenging to get on. And then we're just gonna buckle these all. Then once you have them all buckled, then you're just gonna go around and cinch them all down. And that's basically it. You know, like I say, pretty easy, really pretty easy construction. You do have some stakes, so you can stake it down, and there's some additional tie down anchors that you can put on if need be for, you know, heavy winds or whatnot. But like I say, really easy blind to set up and take down. So, and again, with this door is super nice. Like I say, it's got the magnet on it. One thing you'll do with this door is when you do put your roof on, you gotta make sure it's over top of the door, so this way rain doesn't run into it. But then to open the door, you gotta kind of fold it up out of the way. So what you're gonna do is just kind of loosen that up a little bit and pull your door panel. Pull your door panel out. And like I say, what's real nice about this blind is the door. You know, real big door. Again, it has a magnetic hasp on it, but real big door. So really easy to get in and out of the blind, especially if you got a backpack on or something along those lines. So super easy to get in, super easy to get out. A lot of room. Yeah, but just to kind of give you an idea of, you know, how much room is inside here. You know, plenty of room for a chair and a tripod. Open up these windows, let some more light in. Yeah, those windows, the way these windows open up, really slick. I really like that a lot. Just completely silent. But yeah, I mean, you got absolutely plenty of room that you could set your gun on a tripod and, you know, be able to shoot. And if you don't want to use a tripod, again, like, you know, you've got these braces along the bottom of these windows, you know, so I would probably put maybe some pipe insulation on there just to quiet it down, and you can set your gun right on these windows. You wouldn't even need a tripod in here. But yeah, you can very comfortably shoot in here. Very comfortably. And then very comfortably shooting here. So yeah, plenty of room. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not gigantic, but plenty of room for, you know, plenty of room for a chair, tripod, and your, you know, your day pack. But yeah, overall, just you know, a great, seems to be a great blind. With these windows, again, you basically have two layers on these windows. You have this the inner layer for, you know, blacking things out, and then you have this outer layer, camouflage mesh layer. And so this inner layer is just held on with, you got two little hooks up in the corners, and then you have a bungee cord that holds that window up. So completely silent to open that window up, and then your outer window, that mesh window is again, that's magnetic. So again, completely silent to open that up or close it, whatever you want, you know, whatever, but it's completely silent. And then if you want to adjust it so that you only have half of that, you know, open, you can do that. And then same token with your blackout windows. If you only want half of that, you know, half of that open, you can do that. So it gives you a little bit of versatility. And like I say, the windows are just, you know, absolutely silent. So that's pretty impressive. You know, and again, or if you just want to have half of that open so you can minimize the amount of light that's coming in. And then also, again, around each windows, you have this 1 inch bracket or frame that runs through there. So again, if you want to, you know, basically use that, you can kind of use that as a rest for your rifle. And again, the door is just the door is magnetic as well. So super simple and super quiet. All right, so just to kind of give you an idea of how effective these mesh windows are and how well they conceal you while you're inside the blind. So basically, I've got the camera set up to the 12 o'clock. It's about 25 yards in front of the blind. So I've got the 12 o'clock window is completely wide open. The 11 o'clock window is completely wide open. Actually, let me grab this here. So the camera's set up 25 yards in front of the blind. I've got the 12 o'clock window completely wide open. The 1 o'clock window is completely wide open. And I guess you would call it the 11 o'clock window is also complete. The 10 o'clock window or the 9 o'clock window is only half open. The 6 o'clock window, it's completely shut. And then the 5 o'clock window is slightly cracked. So, essentially with this configuration, you essentially have 360 degree viewing. And then also, with the mesh windows in place, you're completely concealed and completely hidden in here. I can move around quite a bit, and you might catch a little bit of movement here and there, but if you're, and again, I'm wearing a bright red shirt, so if I were actually out here hunting, wearing either a black sweatshirt or some kind of a darker upper layer and a face mask on top of that, you can virtually get away with all sorts of movement in here. And yeah, like I say, so the camera's set up about 25 yards in front of the blind. So and then also, like I say, these windows are great with these magnets. They're just absolutely silent. And then again, you have this rail at the bottom of the window that you could easily rest your firearm on and make for a great stable shooting position. Yeah, so just just really looking forward to using these blinds this coming season. I'll kind of do an update at the end of the season and just kind of bring you up to speed as to how they held up and whether or not we liked them or not. I really think we will. They seem like a really great product. Again, you've got the you have that kind of that mobility of a lighter weight hub style to blind, but then you also have that the added durability. So I think you're going to get many years of use out of these types of blinds. Like I say, they're just a very well built product. So but yeah, I'll update this video after this season, and then maybe even in the future as well, and just kind of see if there's any weak points that come up, or or we have any types of failures or anything like that. But I think overall, I think this is going to be a real good product, and it's definitely going to fill you know, kind of fill that that hole that we have, you know, of needing to replace 1 or 2 blinds every year. I just think I think these will certainly hold up, and then I fully believe, you know, probably even probably next year or something like that, probably wind up even purchasing 1 or 2 of the larger versions for archery hunting. So yeah, so thanks for watching, and like I say, you know, keep an eye out for you know, for basically for like a kind of a after season 1 year review, and then you know, like I say, kind of see if there's any weaknesses or anything like that that we identify, or you know, that come to light. So thanks again for watching, and yeah, stay tuned for an update.